No, it was really filling a void in the space. It was, me thinking back to when I was a kid and had sponsored Inez from Africa, and I would get a letter every single month from her with a painting, and I knew how she was doing. I knew that my mom's $7 a month that I begged her to donate was going somewhere good. And I said, well, why don't we have that anymore? We've got all this technology, we have all the power to connect. Why don't we do this? And everybody that I've talked to just loves it. It's a great idea. But everybody that I've talked to in the space that are generally focused around charities is, hey, we're going to make this program and we're going to donate a portion to charities. They're not focused at building charity platforms. So I think that's where I decided to differentiate myself. I'm not really focused on me trying to make, millions and millions of dollars. I know if this is $1 billion idea, the money flows. So I think that was a major perspective shift for me, was instead of focusing on myself, my own personal, success, I was focused on building relationships. I call it collecting people and building a team of people that could make the most impact. And that's what we've been trying to do.
NFTs are redefining the cryptocurrency landscape and taking the world by storm. This is Ashley Smith from Fame Lady Squad, and I want to welcome you to From the Blockchain. As leaders of an all-female avatar NFT project, we want to share our insight and industry knowledge with you. We want to empower more women to participate and dominate in the NFT space. So whether you're an early adopter or just a curious learner, we hope you join us to explore the exciting world of NFTs. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to From the Blockchain. This is Board Becky, also known as Ashley Smith IRL, and I am so excited to be here at the top of the year, starting 2023. We've said goodbye to 2022, which was a crazy year for a lot of businesses, especially those in Web3 and crypto. And really, we're really here to continue on building our mission, informing the public about what type of innovation is happening in Web3, really moving beyond crypto trading and some of the things that a lot of the public might think about when they think about NFTs. And so I'm so excited to be here with our guest today, Nick Daze. He, by the way, you might know him as Daze in the space, but Nick Daze is here with me today, and he is an innovator. We are pumped to have met him. I know that my counterparts, Cara and NFT Ignition, have spent some time chatting with him, and they've had amazing things to say about his story. So we're going to let him dive a little bit deeper into that. Quick little bio that I'll let him unpack a bit. Nick is the founder of Alignmint.tech and Ethereum token Tiger Queen. He's building a system to track all charitable donations on chain to help donors. I think that we can go a lot deeper into what that is. But Nick, welcome so much to From the Blockchain. How are you doing today?
Doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
It's a pleasure. I think that as we move into 2023 through this bear market, it's really important that we focus on the builders in the space and the innovation and thought leadership that's happening despite the noise, despite the some of the negative press. And I think it's because a lot of folks really believe in what opportunities and advantages and benefits that Web3 can really bring. I maybe before we dive a little bit deeper into your background, which I know you have an incredible story, maybe we can just high level, like, we're going to be talking about Alignmint today. We're going to be talking about charitable giving and giving in general on chain. Before we get into who you are, maybe give us just like high level, what is Alignmint? And then we'll go back a little bit.
Sure. So Alignment's designed to be a platform to allow users to have a better connection to the donations or the charities that they're giving to. So a lot of people give regularly, monthly to charity, yearly to charity, and they don't get anything more than maybe a welcome email or anything back. So this system is designed to give impact updates through the NFTs to show the donors how their money's being spent and the impact that it's actually having.
Right. So really you're looking at solving maybe a pain point from our previous generation of giving, and building on it. But first, before we dive a little deeper into what that means, why don't we learn more about you. When I was first introduced to you, and I'm sorry, you're hearing my baby in the background, everybody. This is life. So apologize.
Definitely. Web3
Um,
life.
Web3 life. Um, but let's learn a little bit about how you got into this space. Like, what is your background? What were you doing before you founded Alignmint.tech?
So been an entrepreneur with my family business since I was pretty young. We have a roofing and insulation company here in Canada. Right before I was in this, though, another part of my family business was in the funeral industry. So I was actually pre-planning funerals and helping people make decisions for end of life, which was pretty crazy. I ended up getting in a motorcycle accident about a year and a half ago, breaking my neck and my collarbone, unable to go out and work and provide for my kids and my family. And at the exact same time that I happened to find something called SafeMoon, which was a BSC token at the time, I think still is, which turned $300 to I think 87,000 at peak within like 10 days of me getting into crypto. So it was just a really nice introduction, and it was right around the same time as Dogecoin. So it was a really easy thing for me to jump into when I had no other outlet to put my time towards while I was laid up recovering with a broken neck. So started a Clubhouse channel with a bunch of friends. We had like 50 moderators. We're running 24 hours a day teaching crypto basics and 101, which led to me, meeting Carole Baskin, of all people, that came into our chat room from the show Tiger King, and the
So
rest is kind of
random.
so random. um,
So
and
random. At the peak
at,
of all of that, I imagine.
it was at the peak of all that, and it was out like at the peak of meme coin season as well. So like we were doing a lot of AMAs with developers coming in with some neat tokenomics or taxes on the coin to that were geared towards using it, the taxes towards social good and donations. And I had this crazy idea. I said to Carole, I'd love to make the Carole Baskin coin, or make something to help your facility there. And she was like, no, I'm going to get sued. I can't do it. There's not a chance. Just no. And I didn't let that deter me at all. I regrouped and remade the tokenomics and ended up calling it Tiger Queen, which obviously she has no copyright over or anything like that because it was a new name. And decided instead of giving that portion of the tax directly to her, we would let the community choose other types of charities or food banks or local causes we could donate the Ethereum to instead. So opened up a huge community of giving, allowed us to outreach to different types of communities as well, and make a lot of impact as a group, which was really neat.
Cool. We've talked a little bit about giving on the show, not in great detail, but kind of this feeling as someone who wants to donate. Um, I think there's two things. One is what we're used to doing when we give, when we donate, and like I think you're going to touch on is that sort of it's very transactional oftentimes, unless someone's really really involved or engaged in some sort of organization that you give one time, you might get a tax benefit, that's it. And then with the crypto space emerging, and one of the things we touched on when we looked back at 2022 was giving, with the initiative to help Ukraine. That was a
Mhm.
big success story as far as we understand, in terms of a lot of people being able to give very quickly, and it's all on chain, which is wonderful. But I think there was also like it's new, and like how do we know where our proceeds are going? Like how if you're talking to
Yeah.
the person who's just coming into this space and thinking about donating for the first time, like what do you think they should be thinking about as they're giving using blockchain?
My goal is to make it like a kind of a seamless transition, right? Like we see people giving every day through, the giving block is doing a great job of bringing those, Web 2 donations into the crypto and onto blockchain. But blockchain only, and that information only brings you so far, right? Yes, we can see the money was deposited, but then it goes to an exchange. It gets, taken out for real world cash to make an impact, but then we don't really see the impact that it makes. So what Alignmint is doing, and the tech that we're trying to push forward is giving accountability to the funds and giving monthly updates on, let's say for example, we're growing a new coral reef that was planted. We want to give feedback on the growth of it, the pH balance in the water, and the temperatures, and we want to track all of these metrics so that we know that the impact that we're having, and we can show. And the really cool thing is it has become very transactional. People are doing it for whatever reason. But with Web3 and the type of community that we have growing together, I think it's really key that if you're donating, like people are flexing their apes, any of their NFT PFPs. If you could update every month with your PFP of your animal you're supporting or your well that you're drilling and show the impact that you're actually making, I think it's going to resonate with a lot of people, especially in this community, because we're very I don't want to say superficial, but we look at stuff like that, and we want to grow that community.
There's definitely this idea about sharing your identity through what you're doing on chain. And so I think that's one thing that some folks might still have a bit of a hard time wrapping their head around if they're looking from the outside in. But a lot of people are suggesting is going to become very much the new normal at some point, where our digital wallets are going to showcase the things we're interested in, the things we support. And it's a way to potentially loudly or quietly showcase the things you're involved in. I think that's one of the things when you're giving. If you're, if you go to a traditional like fundraising event and you decide to donate, it's a one-time thing, and usually you donate because you're interested in the cause, obviously.
Mhm.
But there's a lot of like emotion, I think, that goes into those events, and it's one of the reasons people give, and it's not something that people are normally going to be showcasing forever after, right? It's something that they might mention. They might not even mention their donation, but they might mention that they actively support XYZ organization. And sometimes I think depending on your profile as an individual, you are able to like your affiliation with something can really help boost an organization. Like if you're a person of interest or a leader in
Mhm.
your community, if you're associated with something, it gives trust to the organization you're giving to, like credit and just highlights it. I think it just gives eyeballs, right? And so
Mhm.
this type of thing where you can showcase what you're participating in can take that to the next level. And with platforms like Instagram being able to verify things that you're showcasing, that they're legit, they're on chain, you can learn more about it. This is going to be an interesting experiment, I think, to start with, to see like how people really react and respond. But I think the thing about being on chain is not just about being able to showcase what you're giving to. I think it's really about being able to stay engaged and stay informed. It sounds like, at least in your case, with some of the use cases that you're working with animals. I'd love to learn a little bit more about how you're tying sort of the evolution of giving into back to donors. Can you tell us a little more about that?
Yeah, so that whole kind of idea sparked after we took some of the donation money, or most of the donation money went to animal rescues, food banks, and different charities, and I wasn't getting that feedback. So after collecting the portion of the taxes with Tiger Queen and having the community vote on different places to donate this money, we were giving money to Carole Baskin's Big Cat Rescue. We donated some money to some kids over in Africa to go to school for a couple years with food, some food banks in Georgia and in Canada, and we weren't really getting the feedback that we thought as donors we would like to be able to share and give. So the whole idea stemmed from taking one of one animals and bringing them on blockchain, and I called it the Crypto Wildlife Collective, and bringing bloodlines to blockchain. And the idea was to make one of one 3D models of first of all the tigers. It all started with the tigers and Carole, because I was immersed in that at that time, and making these databases with all of their critical health information, their vet records, where they're supposed to be, because like there's only 3,900 tigers left in the wild. There's more tigers in captivity in North America than there are alive in the wild, but we don't know where they are. And she's been making strides over the last year. And congratulations to Carole. She just passed the Big Cat Rescue Act, which means it's illegal for these roadside zoos to breed these cubs, because there was a horrible system of breeding cubs for roadside zoo cub petting, was only viable for like 6 months, and they would end up either selling the animals off or sometimes even killing them to make a profit. So by developing this database of endangered animals in captivity, my goal was to keep track of all these animals to make sure they couldn't be illegally traded or bred. Um, and building that turned into quite a feat, building the whole dynamic NFTs that change with information that wasn't already loaded in was a new technology. Having token gated pages to hold this this health information was new. So I've got a couple amazing people on our team at Alignmint that have worked with Niantic and some huge companies developing things like this to bring this all together. But at the point that we realized we could do this for animals, we realized that we could do it for everything. So any type of charitable giving, we partnered with a coral and coastal restoration. In Africa, we're working with VetPaw, Veterans Empowered to Protect African Wildlife, are doing great work over there protecting the animals on the game reserves. So trying to catalog and just trying to bring all of this charitable giving on chain so people can share and they can engage. And what you were saying with people wanting to spread what they're doing, a lot of these charities are having issues with getting engagement, right? People will donate money but they won't show up, or they won't spread the word on social media to what they're doing. So this develops a system where you can easily share and keep track and update the people on the impact that they're having visually, and make it a little bit more accountable.
Yeah, it really goes into this capacity for community building, I think, and what that Web3 brings and bringing people together. I think that's one thing that, as you're speaking, I'm thinking, if I donate to some charity, I don't necessarily know who anyone else is that's also, excited about supporting that organization or their efforts,
Mhm.
unless maybe there's an in real life event. And then even if I meet them in person, it's really the onus is on me to continue some relationship with some people that, we have some shared interests. I think with Web3, it allows or it accommodates communities to be built around these efforts. And so I think when you
Around the
have
interest
something,
graph.
yeah, exactly. So if people really have a sincere interest in what they're participating in, there's room, and I think that's the part that um, we still have to see be played out a little bit, and I think the general public may not fully understand is this idea of like decentralization when it comes to communities and what that can mean, and that's really like people become cheerleaders and advocates as participants, right? And that if you run or operate a not-for-profit of some sort, having that community and those ambassadors can really help elevate the work that you're doing. Um, but
Yeah.
that does go to the point where I think a lot of folks in that space, traditional, fundraising space, probably would have no idea how to get involved in Web3. Um, what would you say to those folks who are listening that are like, "Oh, this brings up a really great idea, but I have no idea how to execute on it?"
Yeah, so I think a lot of Web3 companies and Web2 companies are struggling to find a way to onboard the masses, and I think that's really the key point to all crypto. And if you look at what Reddit did with their digital collectibles and how they rolled that out, it was something to kind of be amazed at. You have mass onboarding when people don't even know they're buying or receiving NFTs. So it needs to kind of be that silent transition, I think. I think people are already used to doing the Web 2.0 way of donating with crypto, right? The only difference is not typing in a credit card number, but hitting click on your MetaMask and you've donated. But I really think, once people can go on to one centralized dashboard, which we'll have, and see all of their charitable givings, all of their communities, and really start to engage in a way that doesn't feel like they're trading cryptocurrency or collecting NFTs, because that's not what it's about. It's about just providing impact and providing data and using the technology. And I think that's where there's a lot of big innovation happening in the space. Is a lot of people are really focusing, this is my PFP, this is my project, and this is what I'm going to build. But no, I think we should be building companies that are utilizing the technology and transitioning these Web 2 and antiquated systems for more transparency and more accountability, as I say.
Yeah, I mean, I come from a real estate background, and that's really what prompted me to get into this space is really these business cases. and you're not necessarily creating something just for someone to sell. It's going to help improve traditional processes, and hopefully bring brand new opportunities that would have not been thought of previously. I do wonder, have you had much of a chance to speak to um, folks who are leaders in organizations that have been running for 5, 10, 20 plus years, and brought this idea to them? I'd be really curious to know what the sort of initial feedback is. Are people scared? Do they get it? Are they excited? What type of things are they thinking about as you're talking to them?
There's a lot of education, right? I think a lot of people are, especially in that are that deep into those types of businesses, are probably more structured around the financial, the traditional financial system. So there's a lot of education, a lot of walking through how the logistics would work, but it's a lot of the discussion with me and them about it's and not or, right? It's
Mhm.
about adding a stream. It's not saying that they have to change exactly what they're doing, and adapt everything to Web3. It's saying, let's dip our toe in here and see what we can provide value and what extra we can get. So I think by going at it from that aspect, instead of trying to go in and redesign their whole scheme, that was very, very powerful. And I do think I know there's a lot of Fortune 500 companies out there that are working with major media agencies in the space that are looking for new and innovative ways to connect with their consumers and their donors in the space. So the space is definitely ripe for innovation, and the people that are out here building and transitioning the older systems into new are the ones that are you know uh, the shovel and the pickaxe salespeople in the gold rush for sure.
I'm curious if there's anything that you have seen in the space that kind of inspired you to get to where you are. Was it mostly just the void? Like, have you seen anyone else doing anything similar to this, even maybe outside of giving? But when you're talking about the evolution of, like, it started as XYZ and it's grown into this, it makes me think of like supply chain as in like tracking. So I'm just
Yeah.
curious if there's anything you've seen that is implementing that inspires you.
No, it was really filling a void in the space. It was, me thinking back to when I was a kid and had sponsored Inez from Africa, and I would get a letter every single month from her with a painting, and I knew how she was doing. I knew that my mom's $7 a month that I begged her to donate was going somewhere good. And I said, well, why don't we have that anymore? We've got all this technology, we have all the power to connect. Why don't we do this? And everybody that I've talked to just loves it. It's a great idea. But everybody that I've talked to in the space that are generally focused around charities is, hey, we're going to make this program and we're going to donate a portion to charities. They're not focused at building charity platforms. So I think that's where I decided to differentiate myself. I'm not really focused on me trying to make, millions and millions of dollars. I know if this is $1 billion idea, the money flows. So I think that was a major perspective shift for me, was instead of focusing on myself, my own personal, success, I was focused on building relationships. I call it collecting people and building a team of people that could make the most impact. And that's what we've been trying to do.
So, Nick, I'm actually just really curious about the mechanics, about like how this all works for you as a business really creating this. What does this mean for you? How does this, I dare I just say it out loud, like, make money for you? And then what does it mean for the user on the other side?
Yeah, so Alignmint as a platform, as any minting platform or any transaction system, there will be fees that'll come off of the donations, which is pretty standard. The way the actual technology works is in keeping communication and keeping in contact with the facilities and with the project. So there's a portion of Mint that's held back to incentivize updating the information. If we paid all the money to the facility all at once, they might just take it and run and have no reason to provide that the impact reporting that we're trying to achieve. So we're holding back a portion of minute percentage, which would be dependent on each type of collection and each type of collaboration that we would need. But we do realize that the core mechanic, is updating the information and keeping track of the impact. and the growth or the status of the project. So we've worked at a system, a token that we're launching that is going to incentivize users to go out and collect that information as well. So let's say we've planted a forest up north that's off of a trail that you could go hike and get measurements of the trees and take pictures and update this information. Or you could scuba dive and measure the coral reef's temperature and pH balance and take pictures of the growing coral and be rewarded in our token for doing that. And that's where the mechanics really come into play. So incentivizing the users or the facilities to provide the information to constantly update and provide the feedback as impartial as possible is
That's
really the
so,
main part of it.
yeah, that's so interesting. So what you're saying is folks who are giving can really be involved in the accountability
100%. They
of
can actually even be rewarded for being
yes.
extra involved within the community, and you see that all over the place. Like Carole at Big Cat Rescue runs, I think, like over 200 volunteers. She has no paid employees, and as a facility that brings in millions of dollars, that makes a big difference. You have to have people that want to come and support, not just financially, but you have a lot of people that aren't able to support financially, but are able to go and make an impact on the ground. And I believe that they should be rewarded for, going and spending their time and then able to turn around and use that to make even more impact with the other donations.
That's so okay. So if you're and I'm sorry, and I hope that we're not steering too far away from, the basics of what you're building here, but I
Hmm.
just love the innovation that you're creating.
Thank you.
Thinking about how volunteers can there are going to be ways for them to be able to be involved almost as though they were donors. Is that what you're saying?
100%. So like my main thought was,
Mhm.
there's so many people out there with big hearts. There's so many people that want to be able to do good and make an impact, but they don't have the financial means to, or they're not in the position to do that. This allows them to still engage with the community, still allows them to be part of it and make an impact and report or go and volunteer and receive impact tokens. It's really is just another way to engage and reward those for their continued support, right? We don't want a one donation and walk away. We want somebody who is going to donate, who's going to constantly update their friends and their family to grow the community. Because if Web3 has taught me anything, is having a community around you, you're so much more powerful, right? You can literally do anything when you have a million minds or 1,000 minds looking at something, rather than just yourself. So, just giving back that power, allowing everybody to be involved was a really key thing. And then incentivizing it with a financial aspect, with obviously tokens will have liquidity pools and all of that, no financial advice or, regulations or securities aside, that will happen. So, it would be a good way for people to do good and make a living doing it, or for people who are into ecotourism or digital nomads that go around and live and travel. It's a good way for them to bounty hunt almost and provide good in the world.
I do see this though as also just a really unique opportunity once it finds the scale, for folks to be able to really get involved with things in their hometowns, right? Like folks that want to be heavily engaged in things that are happening around them, where it's just maybe accessible. Um,
Mhm.
so I am wondering, um, when we're thinking about scale, just how do you find how do you see adoption of a program like this happening, and are folks able to today kind of come and find you, and then look at the types of opportunities and giving opportunities, that you're involved in as a platform already?
For sure. So obviously we haven't launched yet, so we're still working
Yeah.
towards our launch, and our main four
Yeah.
releases that we're coming out with: Carol's cats and some apes and rhinos and elephants and some coral projects. That's our main focus, is to
Hmm.
get launched. Our plan to scale is really to prove ourselves, to prove that these collections can sustain and grow a community, and then build in these
Hmm.
other partners. I've got a lineup of 10 or 12 other large corporations that are looking for ways to integrate this. But I want the release to be
Hmm.
smooth. I'm all about organic growth. I
Hmm.
don't like paid influencers or trending and all of that stuff. It really gets very convoluted. So I'm trying to grow it in a way that
Mhm.
is sustainable and proven. But I do think it's going to be one
Mhm.
of those things where once it does grasp, we're ready to scale.
Mhm.
Onboarding is
Mhm.
our main, timeline, our main time deficit.
Mhm.
So getting pictures of the animals
Mhm.
or the facility, building out the different metrics. But we've built a system on our back end to be able to integrate all that. And on a
Mhm.
local level and on a community level, when I started Tiger Queen in the community charity fund, it was come in and vote or nominate a local charity of your choice. So we had people coming in saying, my
Right.
food bank here in rural Georgia is building a bus that they're doing a mobile food pantry. Can we donate that? And we voted and donated $5,000. So to be able to connect on a local level is something I've always been focused on. Coming from a small town in
Mhm.
Canada, there's like 10,000 people in my town, and it's forgotten about. All the major metropolitan cities have large organizations, but the little towns struggle. So I love the community
Mhm.
aspect, and I think that's a way that people can get to, come together under a common goal.
I'm thinking about questions that prospective donors might have, as they explore these types of programs, platforms, opportunities, however you want to label it. Um, and so I wonder, when it comes to receiving sort of updates or having an understanding of the impact that they're having through their giving, is there going to be a standard set of like how frequently you might expect um, to see and learn about how well your gift is going, or is that really up to the organization that is participating?
So each project will be probably a little bit different because everything's going to have its kind of own organic breath, let's call it. But
Hmm.
there would be a standard
Hmm.
set. So if it would be a monthly update schedule, again having that held back portion that we would dole out for those continued updates would be what would really solidify that and would be our
Hmm.
standard operating procedure, let's call it.
Hmm. Hmm.
But let's say it was a program or a charity that was doing something remote, and it did require one of our users to go and collect the information, then it might not be as frequent. So um,
Hmm.
it would be, maybe one of those things where it would go say, this hasn't been updated, and would more tokens would be assigned to the bounty at that point to incentivize somebody to go up and get that information, or to dive and get that information, or go visit the
Right.
school in Africa and make sure the doors are still open. All of that stuff
Hmm.
would be, kind of fluid. I think
Hmm.
it would have to be at that point.
Right. And another question that I'm sure people wonder is about, and I imagine it's different depending on which jurisdiction you're in, which country you're in. But when it comes to giving, uh, oftentimes there's tax benefits. Is that something that's built into this type of a program or expected to be?
For any of the 501(c)(3) charities that we would work with,
Yeah.
I believe they would do that. That would be the
Hmm.
key. A lot of the U.S. donors are looking for obviously receipts over, I think, is it $20? Anything you can claim. So yeah,
Hmm.
absolutely. All of the facilities that we have given to were 501(c)(3) and ready to accept crypto. If an organization
Right.
wasn't ready to accept crypto, I would walk them through how to get into crypto and how to set up the wallet and receive it as well. So
Right.
yeah, 100%. Yeah, that would be the
Hmm.
main goal, to make it as traditional as possible with the same benefits, but then have the same or the extra benefit of having the impact reported back to you.
I think this is just really cool what you're building here. And I just want to give you kudos because I think it's this general space, not including Web3, is already a tough one. And from the organizations that I've been involved with when it comes to fundraising, it's just always work. Like it's always work. They're always trying to figure out how to add value to their donors. They're always trying to figure out how to bring excitement to their donors so that way they can live and breathe another year and keep doing the good work that they're doing. um,
Mhm.
and so I'm really excited to see where this platform is able to bring people. And to your point, like I think it will take some time. The case studies will probably need to be made for it to really get picked up by other organizations that want to give it a go. But that being said, if organizations are interested in learning more, about what you're doing, are you actively, chatting with organizations to kind of get them in the queue for what's going to come next?
For sure. Yeah. We're in talks with a few Fortune 500 companies, a few major worldwide charities. If this is something that your charity could benefit from on a local level, on a national level, or anything, just reach out. We'll put you in the
Mm-hmm.
queue. If it's not something that we're able to scale to help at this point, we'll definitely, reach out. And this is designed to make the most impact. So any idea you have,
Mm-hmm.
bring it to us. And I'd love to build a system around it to make the most impact. I know a lot of these charities are struggling for ways to connect, right? They're selling $25, $50 monthly packages already on their website with a Visa, where you get tickets to their resort, or you get tickets to come to a mixer with all the other donors. All of these are exclusive benefits or token gated benefits that we have in the Web3 world already. So building that kind of utility is something that we can add extra value to as well. So when you were
Mm-hmm.
talking about maybe enticing traditional donors to come over, not only are they making their donation and getting the same kind of tax benefit as they were before, but if they were to collect it this way, not only are they getting more impact, but they'll also get the exclusive benefits that come with any
Mm-hmm.
Web3 community, right? You go to any event, there will be an Alignmint, charity night, or there will be a big cat rescue mixer at some point, right? There will be those extra benefits built into each collection to allow them to
Mm-hmm.
ingrain themselves into Web3. Um,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
we can't take an old system and slap Web3 on it. We have to embrace the Web3 culture and use what we know already.
I don't want to go back too far into our conversation, but as you're speaking, I just keep thinking about kind of the practical side of donating. And there's obviously different types of donors. There's big donors who make it a part of their yearly activity to make sure they donate X amount of dollars, probably perhaps to X number of charities. And then there's kind
Yeah.
of the more everyday person that from time to time gets involved in donating. And most people probably fall into that category, right? I know myself, like it really depends on the year. Did I do well financially that year? Do I have the money to spend?
Mhm.
And, so I've gotten into the habit just because of like being in the real estate business prior to coming into Web3. There were always events, there were always entrepreneurs trying to like help different organizations that they were involved in. It was very much a part of being a realtor was, supporting the community and being
Mhm.
involved, etc. And
Micro
as a
donations.
person, micro donations, yeah, and
Yeah.
sometimes they were I mean, they might have been micro when you compare to say what a millionaire might give, but they might have still been reasonable donations. And I've known lots of people to raise $50,000, $100,000 for a one time thing or whatever.
Mhm.
But really, at the end of the day, for me as a donor, I feel weird even calling myself that, but it was usually related to like who asked me,
Mhm.
like and I
Yeah.
probably had a cap of how much I could give each year. But if somebody I trusted and liked asked me to donate, I usually didn't even need to know a lot about what it was they were contributing to. It had more to do with, do I like this person? Do I trust them? Do I trust their judgment? And
Mhm.
do I want to support them? And to me, once this is really built out to scale, I can just see that type of a thing where people are using their social proof, back to the point of sharing, the NFTs, share it, and being enabled through the stories they're able to tell with the type of functionality that you're giving these NFTs. And remind me, these are called dynamic NFTs. Is that right?
Yeah, the dynamic portion is the fact that they change. So the fact that they
Yeah.
get updated, not only the information and not only the image, but also the information that comes along with it. So that's where it all started. And going back, I wasn't saying the
Yeah.
micro donations in the sense of the dollars
Oh,
donated,
I
but
know. I know.
in sense of diverting money in one circumstance. But most of the
Yes.
donations done by people our age are exactly that. We're asked at the cash register, we're asked, walking out of a
Mhm.
store, or we're a GoFundMe, or somebody approaches us, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
other than donating all of this money through Tiger Queen, I've probably donated a couple $1,000s this year just on little things throughout the way that I have
Mhm.
no sense of where that went. And if you look at
Mm-hmm.
what charities that throw these big fundraisers and they have these campaigns to raise money, their cost of raise is in the 20 to 30% rate, right? Like the amount of
Mm-hmm.
money that's actually going to the charities is not the 100% of the money that's donated, right? So it is still a business,
Mm-hmm.
and it does still have a cost of acquisition of these. So we're trying to not
Mm-hmm.
only grow the community, lower that cost of acquisition of these donations, but leverage what we see on stuff like GoFundMe, right? Like GoFundMe's
Mm-hmm.
a perfect
Yeah.
way for anybody to go and do that, but they don't know what happens with the money afterwards. So it's taken that
Yeah.
one step further. Not only do we accept crypto payments, but you get that impact as well.
Yeah, there's so many things here. And to me, that when you know what happens, like a lot of people give and forget, but when you know what happens, you're reminded of your giving, and it enables and it equips people to storytell on your behalf. And I
And
do
it just
think it's
grows
important
community.
for people to, yeah, I think that nonprofits get a lot of, hear a lot of negative noise when their money isn't going 100% towards their initiatives.
Mhm.
And I just, I empathize with those groups because, to your point, sometimes they need to spend money to make more money to have more of an impact. That's just really the way it is. There's obviously some groups that are probably not responsible or not as accountable as they should be. But to me, when they're set up with certain tools, the idea is streamlining, cutting costs, right? Being able to put and being incentivized to be more thoughtful about their spending just generally. Um, so I think that this can have an impact in many, many ways. So I'm really excited to follow, where you go with this. Um, and I'd love to know, before we wrap up, like, what type of innovation related to what you're working on are you most excited about?
Probably most excited just about the connectedness, right? The
Mm-hmm.
something that we can see that changes. So the dynamic portion has really been core for me from the beginning. I love
Mm-hmm.
my PFPs, I love all of my NFTs, I love all the communities, but my ADD brain needs more than that. I need to have
Mm-hmm.
an update. I need to constantly be changing, and to have something like this where I can have a connection. And again, it's scalable, right? This is the first stop with donations. You can kind of see where the tech can be used further on. So Alignmint is definitely a bigger story and a bigger, organization growing silently beyond this, which I think is really
Mm-hmm.
cool, and is a huge motivation for me. But really, the dynamic structure of the NFTs changing and how that's going to be adapted and used, I think is going to be really
Mm-hmm.
key, because it opens up so much future technology for the real estate industry, for the insurance industry. Um, Everybody should be using smart contracts. Any sales organization that is bringing in money should have this hierarchical structure built into a smart contract, so that you as a realtor get your percentage and your manager gets their percentage, so you don't have to rely on your boss not being sick on payday to remember to send the funds to pay you. This should all be
Mm-hmm.
automated. This should all be on chain. And that's what this transparency can really do. There are going to be probably pushback from a lot of charities that don't want to use this technology, because they don't want to show where their money goes, and they don't want to have to
Yeah.
report the impact that they have, and they won't be a partner.
Mm-hmm.
So, this
Yeah.
is going to be the new type of accreditation, the new standard that I'd like to build, is just,
Mm-hmm.
elevating that level of, um, uh, not a level of intention, but the level of
Mm-hmm.
expectation of donors, should be much higher. And I'd like to
Mm-hmm.
to provide that without them even asking at this point.
What a great answer. I love that. And it's a great way, I think, to kind of cap things off. Now, if folks are wanting to follow you, follow Alignmint, follow the work that you're doing and the progress, how would they best do that?
So our Alignmint pitch deck basic website's out at alignmint.tech. I'm on Twitter at daz3.eth or dazed_crypto, either one, but I go by dazed.eth. Check us out, tigerqueen.io. Our Telegram's still popping. That token is planned to transition into our new Alignmint token. It's a little bit of alpha. So any of our existing
Mm-hmm.
holders, any of my community, they've had my back since day one. I'm always going to take care of them and make sure that they're well aligned when this new token and everything comes out with this new platform. So a little bit of alpha there. But yeah, check us out, and thank you so much for having me. This has been a dream for me.
Hey, I really appreciate it. And thank you for your patience to you and to our audience with me and my baby who stopped
You got to show the baby though. You can't just have his head in there. Yeah.
I know, because we are going to be finally hitting YouTube pretty soon. He's sleeping now. That's why he's being so quiet.
So
I'm
good.
sure the camera will pan over to you every time I was dealing with him. So this has been really fun. I've learned a lot. I think it's sparked some new ideas for me just on what's possible. I definitely think that I'll have an interest, as a prospective donor to be able to give in this way, and really thinking about on chain as a real default and standard at some point. So I think that's very, very exciting. I hope folks who are in the field of giving really take note of what you're doing. It might feel early for them, but I would say and encourage them to at least pay attention, because I think over the next several years, we're going to see a shift in how this all works. So kudos to you for trailblazing.
Thank you.
And especially after coming out of like a tough time with your accident. Nick, it's been so nice to meet you. I hope we get to meet IRL again. And once again, by random chance, another Canadian, which I got to shout out. Love that. Nick, thank you so much. And before I forget, if you didn't catch how to find him, it'll be in the show notes, everybody. So thank you so much for joining us today, telling more stories from the blockchain. Thank you for joining us on From the Blockchain. We hope you enjoyed the show. If you have any questions about today's episode, please send us a message so we can answer it. If you want to learn more about Fame Lady Squad or how you can get involved with NFTs, please visit our website or join our growing community on Discord. We genuinely believe we couldn't do the things we do without the support of our community and listeners like you. So thank you. We'll see you again soon.